The broadcast.
Hi everyone, still Dan Turchin, back live. A little bit of a glitch on the Hangout, but let me go ahead and reshare, and we'll resume. I was just going through some Q&A. I know there were some questions coming in the chat panel. Want to make sure we had a chance to address all of them, but we will pick up right where we left off. So I was talking through some of these key questions, and I was getting into what you can do to convince your team that AI maturity is progress. Really a question for you, but I'd say, just based on my travels, some of the things that is first and foremost to shamelessly steal the soundbite that I opened this session with. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Dan Turchin. Lisa, is that something you can mute? Okay. Anyway, so the key point that I made earlier is that most use cases involving AI and machine learning are really about making humans smarter. They're just about taking the power of thinking machines and the power of a decision engine and applying that to make fulfillers make better recommendations to requesters faster and make sure they're right the first time. So, this notion that, AI maturity is anything but progress for IT, if we take as our kind of true north as a community, this partner for the business and creating engaging end user experiences with technology, if those are our objectives, then you cannot dispute the fact that AI maturity is a move in the right direction. And, go back to like the Industrial Revolution, you certainly want to be on the right side of progress. And if you were, a Luddite in the Industrial Revolution, a machine breaker, you quickly learned that didn't end up being being on the right side of progress. And certainly the same applies here. So that's a little bit of coaching that I've had based on feedback that I've been receiving in the field. Third question for us to think about: how much automation is the right amount? I'd say be very pragmatic. So the worst thing here is if you get kind of enamored with the technology and stop thinking about the business benefit that the technology provides. So think in terms of your KPIs, your MTTR, your first call resolution, your customer sat. So why are you in business? What's your competitive differentiator? And figure out what you can do with smart predictions that could drive better business outcomes. I'd say as long as you're focused on the business drivers first, and then ultimately, you map the technology solution to the business objective, then you're not gonna overreach in terms of how much is the right amount to automate. The other thing that I would repeat to yourself like a mantra is that as smart machines are used to automate more, certainly in IT, but even beyond IT, what you'll find is that it's going to introduce new opportunities for humans to add value. Remember, what can be predicted is better left to machines. What requires judgment or intuition is better left to humans. So when it comes to things like training people, hiring, having empathy, what do you do when you have a requester who's agitated? The virtual agent can detect that, based on the sentiment or the tone of the virtual agent's discussion, that the requester is agitated. Well, that's a good opportunity for a human to do a live takeover of the chat session and help calm the nerves. So those are things that will always be the case that humans are better at doing. An example that we use oftentimes is with machine vision. So it is the case today that machines are getting very, very accurate at identifying images and photos, and it's only getting better. Just yesterday, I saw a study come out that said the Google machine vision algorithms are getting extremely accurate at accurately identifying images that are very pixelated. So something that the human eye can't even recognize, the machine vision algorithm is actually able to decipher what the image is when it's very pixelated. So very sophisticated technology. But even though a computer may be able to tell, a dog from a bus or something like that, it's really only humans. Even a toddler can get excited when the dog in the picture is wagging its tail, right? Only humans can intuit what it means for these images that a machine can recognize to be taking certain actions, and that's where that level of judgment, cognition, intuition will always be relevant. So last question for us to think about: what should leaders do now? My number one recommendation here is lead with confidence, don't lead with fear. So I shared that slide at the beginning, all these dire predictions for what's going to happen to humans as as AI becomes more prominent. An article that will scare you. Last week it came out that this makes popular front page news routinely. 34 insurance agents in Japan were automated around with an AI engine. And you know what? There will be cases like that. And you know what? For 200 years, there have been things like that where technology has in some way automated away the need for certain humans to do certain things. But don't take that as a dire warning about the future of humanity. In fact, if you're the one who gets the IT leadership team around the table and says, here are the use cases we should think about, because soon virtual agents will be able to handle 80% of the most common issues, and we'll be able to make fulfillers smarter with auto recommendations and assess the risk of changes. Let's think about what that means for our business. Let's think about what that means for the SLAs that we can provide to our internal customers, or what would it look like if as an IT organization fewer changes failed, or the MTTR for outages went down. That's the benefit of AI and machine learning. None of these apocalyptic notions of the bots taking over. Let's be pragmatic. Let's talk about the challenges that our business faces, and let's think about ways to proactively integrate these processes and these technologies into the way we deliver service to the business. And I guarantee you, if you take that tone and you start the dialogue early, and you're the one going out establishing these conversations, then whether it's a virtual agent or a decision engine or a predictive analytics, all these things that seem like they can feel like science fiction if they're introduced in the wrong way. But you kind of demystify how the models work, or will the bots take over? You demystify that, and you remove the fear and the apprehension that your organization is going to have if you instead lead out with the business value and ways to kind of progressively introduce machine learning and AI into your environment. So with that said, I'm happy to take any questions from anyone on the live stream, but I also want to make sure that you had all my contact info, so we can hopefully continue this conversation offline. Two places you may want to go for follow-ups. Happy to show you the full-length version of any of these use cases that we've talked about: fulfiller assistance or virtual agent, manager dashboard. But also, if you're intrigued by some of these concepts and want to continue the dialogue about where the future of IT is, we have a meetup. There are about 250 of us from around the world that meet up monthly, and if you follow that bit.ly link, go ahead and register for it. We've got another event coming up in a couple weeks, but just a great place for this dialogue to transcend the ServiceNow community. Now, with that said, unless Lisa, unless there are questions from the live attendees, then we're at a stopping point.
Yes, from the before we had our broadcast interrupted, we have Ben Howell the third on YouTube posted a question about it was during your presentation on your questions about self-service for the entire company. That was the number one, and that's not really a question, but maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, that's relevant. Yeah. Hey Ben, good to hear from you. I didn't see you, but interact with you virtually. Thanks for joining. Hey, yeah. So self-service is that's an obvious entry point for customers that have a mature self-service strategy. Layering a conversational front end on top of a self-service portal makes a ton of sense. It really is just a function of where each ServiceNow customer is in terms of self-service maturity. That whether or not the virtual agent, the conversational agent, is a good entry point. There are also a lot of ways to make smart recommendations in a self-service portal, contextual knowledge searches, make it easier to find the right form or fill out the right form in a service catalog. So there are ways that you can kind of ease into the notion of a fully kind of autonomous agent. But certainly for anyone that has a mature self-service strategy, day one virtual agent, day one fulfiller assistance, day one smart recommendations makes a ton of sense.
I don't see anything, so hopefully we'll have some more questions posted on the community. And I hope any of the viewers who watch this after the stream or the second part of the stream will also reach out to you on the community as well. And we'll make sure that we post that bit.ly link. Oh, Ben just asked a question. He says, we have a self-service portal and we feel the need of a next step. We would like to use AI here since it also solves problems with the structure and UX. So maybe you want to speak to that? And I'll also talk to Ben about how he can reach to you by joining the community, which is free for anyone who wants to join.
Yeah. So depending on whether you're using a service portal or a traditional self-service interface, there are different ways that you might want to integrate automated self-service. So one way is if you're using the Connect platform, you can access the virtual agent directly from Connect and keep all of your users within ServiceNow. If your organization lives outside of ServiceNow for collaboration, whether that's a Slack, a Skype, a Link, HipChat, wherever that is, Jabber, etc., then you may prefer to make those collaboration platforms the head on the virtual agent body. But self-service, if you have a knowledge base, if you have a service catalog, that makes for the best training data, that along with some incident history. So I'd say it sounds like based on your environment, Ben, that's a logical entry point, is figure out what the right head is for the virtual agent and get started there.
Okay, great.
Anything else?
I don't see anything yet from Ben. I'm thinking he's really absorbing all that great information that you provided. But again, I'll invite him to post some more questions on the community, and hopefully he'll see you there as well as others.
Sounds good to me.
Great. Thank you.
Okay,
so much, everyone.
Lisa, this has been fun.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right, see you all later.